Hey everybody, welcome back. To those of you new to the channel, I want to extend a welcome to you, to those of you returning, my regular subscribers. It's always good to see everybody again. Tonight's video, which will actually be posted tomorrow on Friday, this is something that I want to start often, as I do with many of these videos, with a question. How many of you all sense that something is coming? And when I say something is coming, that sounds ominous, but it's something that many of us have all sensed and felt. And I would have to say, in recent years, for those of us who remember post 9/11, all the way up to the point where everything was shut down during the big bug and all the aftermath of that, the shutdowns of everything, essentially sensing for most of us that this is a test and a precursor in many ways of what is to come. We sense that there is trouble with the economy, that basically we are being groomed, geared, and lined up towards a future that many of us are not going to want to be a part of. Now, we've talked on this channel at many different points at length about elitism, the misuse and corruption that's going on in the government, especially here in the United States. But I mean, for those of you that are in Western countries or even other countries, many of you are familiar with this sort of thing going on. You're dealing with it day to day, trying to survive, like most of us, simply attempting to survive what's going on and trying to figure out how to navigate all of this. But you sense this. Something is coming. To a certain degree, I would have to say this isn't necessarily bad news. There is a divide coming between those of us that are willing to question what is going on, to have an ability to challenge what's happening here, and genuinely have critical thinking about all of this, and take a look at everything and realize, okay, this feels like the middle class is being crushed. It feels like the American dream, if it ever completely actually existed, is absolutely dead. That the generation prior to us, this isn't attempting to throw boomers under the bus. There are many boomers that actually completely agree with me on this. But in their own genuine belief, they were promising college, which is now effectively, for the most part, worthless. Most degrees are worthless. A good economy, which is now completely tanked, much of that due to private equity, government corruption, corporations basically buying everything out and just completely crushing everybody. And we are headed towards a future as you watch things develop, especially with Bill Gates. We're heading towards a future where it's going to be increasingly difficult to think differently than the groupthink that goes on and have a place in that future. You sense it, you feel it, because every time I turn around, there's news about that coming out. Hey, here's this new thing that we can insert into your body to track you. Now, that used to sound like uh, overly zealous religious thinking back in the day. Oh, you believe in an antichrist. You believe in all of this other stuff. You believe that they're going to get you to a point where there's a mark where you can't buy or sell without the mark. And now you take a look at every turn in the news, you turn around and they are promoting that more and more and more. Why? Simply for one reason: control. And it's a concerning thought. How do many of you feel about this? Because when I see these things, my main concern is who's in control? How can they misuse it? And the very fact that the powers that be do not ask this question of how this might be misused is the most concerning thing of all, which is why none of us actually trust this, because we know that the misuse of this is far more dangerous than any benefits. The the threat to people's lives, being able to live it, being able to even coexist with people when you don't agree and you're not part of the groupthink going on out there, the danger is very, very real. This is part of what I think some of us sense is coming. Whether or not you consider yourself religious, whether or not you think this is the end times, whether or not you think this is just going a very, very horrible direction for mankind in general, whenever power becomes consolidated, we end up having real problems, and lives are definitely put at risk whenever there is a consolidation. This is something to, at the very least, question openly, talk about, and have some measure of concern. I've never been able to understand people that look at all of that and are not concerned with such a consolidation of power when it comes to technology, when it comes to tracking people, and how that the misuse of that is far more dangerous and they don't even recognize it. That is the type of thing that concerns me. Those are the people that are the type of people that concern me, because elitism has no power if it does not have the power to divide and get people following them and supporting them that are not thinking through what they are supporting, that do not have critical thinking skills to question what is going on and actually challenge the narratives that they are sold through mainstream media, which I think most of you that are watching this channel are already on the same page that I am. Mainstream media is just a propaganda machine for most of us. Politics is a stage. We are being set up to be constantly at odds with each other so that there is a divide and conquer strategy being basically played out, is what it feels like. This is part of something that has been developing and part of what is coming, I believe, in the future. Those of us that are recognizing the divide and conquer strategy, stepping away from it and realizing our livelihoods, our lives, everything that we have ever hoped for or dreamed of is basically being wiped out. This is not some sort of, I've had people tell me, hey, you're just a first world complainer. You know, you live in a nice country. You have nothing to complain about. I believe that anybody in any country that is dealing with this should be raising their voice and challenging it. This has nothing to do with what country you live in. It has to do with addressing the wrong when you see it, addressing the fact that the critical thinking is being pushed completely under the table, that groupthink is being absolutely promoted all the way across the board and needs to be challenged at every turn. That is what this is about. This is about feeling like we are all uniting together, those of us that actually want to challenge this way of thinking and find another way around, find a way to unite when we're not supposed to, which makes us, in many ways, I believe, increasingly dangerous to powers that be that want corruption. They don't want you questioning the narrative. They don't want you having conversations with people about it. And when I say they, I mean the people that want the division going on here. And all of us have experienced it. You go out into the street, at work, grocery store, gas station, wherever it is you tend to frequent, and you encounter people who will parrot and mimic all sorts of political stuff right back at you and are unable to have a conversation about why they believe what they believe. They just think this person's good, this side's good, this other side is bad, and anything that comes from that side is bad. And I'm just like, well, how did you come to this conclusion? What are your facts? What's your basis? You know, do you really genuinely understand what's undermining our economy? Do you realize that although I support free enterprise 1,000%, I will never support private equity fleecing free enterprise and destroying all of us by wiping out everything from businesses that they buy up and utterly destroy and run into the ground to buying up all of our homes, which I think should be illegal. My personal stance on the government would be simply this: they shouldn't be allowed to collect one more dollar of tax until they can pass an independent financial audit. Now, of course, that will never happen. We all know that. Let's be realistic here. They're never going to allow that type of scrutiny, that type of honesty, that type of transparency. That's never going to be allowed to happen. But that would be my personal stance. the government be held in check. Doesn't matter. I'm not talking about parties here. I'm talking about every single person there scrutinized, and an audit has to be passed. It would never happen because the audit would never be passed. And I think we all know that at this point. The corruption runs far too deep. At any rate, how many of you sense this? How many of you sense something is coming? Something dangerous is coming, especially for those of us that do not subscribe to groupthink. I want to hear about what your thoughts are in this in the comments below, and lay it out for me. Tell me what you think is going on here, and do you sense this as well? There's a bit of impending dread and a feeling of, not some sort of doomsday prepper thing, but at the same time, you're sensing, I kind of need to be preparing for this. Maybe I shouldn't. I mean, I myself am trying to break away from my local economy. I'm doing everything from trying to run online businesses to do whatever I can to try to escape all of it as much as possible, to try to weather the storm as much as possible, because I realize I'm never going to be able to vote change into office at this point. People have been trying to do that for a long time, and it is clearly broken. It is clearly bought up and paid for, and we can't really effectively create change that way. Those of you that disagree with that, I'd like to hear from you too, but provide a good argument in the comments as to why you think we could vote change in, if you think that that's still even a possibility. Aside from that, I'd love to hear from you all in the comments. I appreciate everybody that responds and just the interaction on the channel. And I feel like we definitely are building a community here. And I am going to actually be extending this into a community that we can all join together coming up soon. I'm working on that right now, a site for that. And looking forward to having anybody that wants to join there and just, connect with me over there and see if we can expand this a little bit further. I would appreciate that. If anybody that's interested, we'll do that. So that's in the works, but we'll see how all of that goes. As always, make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It all helps the algorithm. I look forward to seeing you all again in the next video.